have any questions for me before we begin?
Um, Not that I can think of right now, but something might come up
Yeah.
later.
So, one final question here is just like, do you typically warm up in training range?
Yeah, I do, and then I'd like play some like 4v4 if it's available.
Yeah, okay. So I'd probably recommend training range isn't the best place to warm up at all. It's just because it's bots standing still and they're very easy to hit and it's not aim intensive at
Yeah,
all. And the purpose of warming up is to get your aim. It's supposed to be aim intensive, right? And it's not aim intensive at all. So my recommendation would be like tryhard free for all or 4v4 is another excellent mode too. So yeah,
but
I'd go more for that versus just going for practice range. But yeah, I'll
all
just be
right.
a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about here.
Uh, Wait, what did you ask?
No, I said I'll just be a minute or so. I'm looking for something to talk about.
All right. Oh,
Alright, so there we probably should have looked to contest the Ash a lot earlier when she was just kind of pelting us for
yeah.
free. Right, it's just kind of target priority, which we might get into a little bit after this game is done, but we'll see how it goes. Probably just would have been good to shoot at her, right? So we could put some
Mhm.
pressure on her.
Yeah, definitely.
Alright,
Um,
so we're already, yeah, like you mentioned, I already see a couple positioning things. Mainly we'll go over them after the game. That way we actually can talk about them without interrupting you in the middle of the fight here.
yeah.
Then besides that, one thing I'd say is just Sonic as off a cooldown pretty much every time you get in. Just get that
Mhm.
out there doing things and make sure we're not just like firing it into the floor right next to us. And then yeah, that's it for the moment. Oh, very nice. Oh, really great dragon.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, I'm noticing a lot of these fights we're lagging. We'll talk about positioning wise, but for the moment, right, I'll go more in depth on it.
Hmm.
Make sure we're closer to the fights. We're standing all the way in the back like we're a Widowmaker in a lot of the fights, and Hanzo doesn't like to do that, which we'll go more in depth on that again afterwards. But
Okay.
just keep in mind that for the moment. We're also lagging behind in a lot of these fights. We're like, for example, in that last one, like our whole team was on point, or like we had like three people on point while we were still on the opposite side of the choke, right, on kind of our
Hmm.
side of the map. So we want to make sure when our team's going in that we're going in with them, and we're not just kind of sitting on the other side of the map from them, because otherwise they're just going in without you, and you're not able to support them at all.
Yeah.
So we'll talk about some positioning things after we're done here. Like I said, Sonic more often. Keeping an eye on Stormer for the moment. Might talk about that at some point, but we'll see more.
Okay. Um, yeah, I think that's about it. I don't have any questions so far.
Yep, just bring them up whenever you have them. Maybe if you don't want to be, distracted while you're playing, bring them up in, after games/rounds.
Um,
Yep.
is there any like positioning I should take before the round starts on this map?
On this map, you pretty much where you are right now would be fine. Mhm.
1, 3, 2, 1.
Very nice. Hmm. Alright, so in that fight, maybe a little bit of unnecessary drop from high ground, and we also ended up like kind of sitting in the back when again our Reinhardt was like pushing forward. So make sure we're
Yeah.
paying attention to what our team's up to and what they're doing, because when we don't, then
Okay.
they end up pushing while we're backing. We want to be pushing while they're pushing.
You said Hanzo's more of an up close hero.
Hanzo's a mid-ranged character,
Um,
not a close range, not a long range. But the big thing in the last fight was that you just didn't have sight lines. You couldn't see anything because when Reinhardt landed the big shatter, we were around the corner. Okay, pretty good dragon again. Make sure you request healing when you're low. That's gonna get you healing faster when you do.
all right.
So it's a good habit to be in to press that. Okay. Nice storm arrow, if not a little bit delayed, just make sure firing, popping that like the moment we see that he's low. So if you wanted to there, probably good positioning would have been to like take that high ground above them in that last fight, just so that we can look to spam them the whole time they're walking in and just get some easy ult charge and possibly a pick.
All right. Am I doing anything wrong here that I should
Yeah.
be?
At the moment, probably being standing on like the top left high ground would be a good place to be, like on the pillar that's like right above you at the moment. Yeah, and then this just gives you good sight lines over pretty much the entirety of the point, while also just being really excellent positioning, which again we'll probably review when we get in after the game is done. All right.
Good.
So they're probably one of the big problems with that we ended up getting our dragon canceled, right?
Yeah.
So in that case, I think when we went for the dragon, we ended up leaping towards them and dragoning. When we do dragon, a lot of the times we want to dragon from around, like from behind, like walls and corners and stuff like that, from behind cover mainly, right? The
Yeah.
reason why
Yeah.
you,
Yeah. I meant to back up there.
yeah.
I accidentally hit forward.
Yep. So in that case, right, you can identify the problem, because if we're out in the open where Reinhardt can shatter us, then we end up getting shattered, right? And that happened, I think, twice, right? I think that happened like the last time we were like looking for a dragon too on the first point. But in that situation, right, if we're around that corner, Reinhardt can't shatter us, and being around a corner while we're dragoning does multiple things for us. It makes it so that it confuses them and they don't know where dragon's coming from as easily. It makes it so that while you're standing still, they can't shoot at you and kill you super easily, and they can't stun you or shatter you, right? And
Hmm.
those are mainly the two reasons why you would do it from around the corner. So that'd be what I would recommend there, because then that'd stop you from getting shattered and keep you alive through it.
All right.
And then that also creates because that would have been in that tight little choke point, that would have been a very, very nuts dragon had we landed it.
Yeah. I was thinking of doing it earlier, but I saw them like kind of pulling back a little bit, so I wasn't sure. I wanted to
Mm.
get like at least a little bit of value from it.
Yeah, you want to do it when they're walking in. So here, I probably recommend on any point, you want to fire one Sonic before the game even starts, and then one as they're walking in, right? Because you can get the cooldown in before, like recharged before they walk back, if that makes sense.
That wasn't a.
Mhm.
Uh,
There, instead of jumping, crouch, right? We ended up jumping and giving them more visibility instead of crouching, which would allow us to get out of the line of sight. Besides that, again, we'll go in with a little bit more positioning things afterwards. When Mercy was all by herself in that room, that's possibly a situation where we could have pushed her. You just wanted to like look, do a quick left, right look, to see like is there anybody around, right? Kind of like crossing the
yeah.
street, right? Is there any are any cars coming, type of deal, right? But if nobody's there, then you can probably push Mercy very easily on her own, right? Hanzo versus Mercy, probably gonna win that in most cases. Very nice.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, run.
Any tips
Yep.
for what I played there?
For where? Say that again.
Any tips for what I did during the last of that point?
During the last of the point, during that last fight, no, nothing in particular. I mean, like I said, I'm storing up some things to talk about after we're done, but
Right.
nothing to talk about at the moment.
Cool. Um, has the video been like because I am playing on my laptop, so
Yeah,
like there
the
might be some FPS drops a little bit.
yeah the frame's been fine. Yeah, the video's been good quality.
Um, one question that I have, like
Mm-hmm.
how like my sense is kind of weird. Like
Mm-hmm.
I play on like 1600 DPI at 2 cents. Is there like does it like matter what sense I play on or
So 1600 by 2 would be a DPI. So that seems like a pretty fine sensitivity to have. That's like just very slightly lower than mine is. So I'd probably say you're not going to have like too many problems with having a sensitivity like that. As long as you feel comfortable with it and you don't feel like there's any problems. Like I haven't noticed any sensitivity being a problem at all here. Right. Here, maybe if we feel like we're stuck, we can always end up climbing through those windows on the top. If we're trying to escape out of that room, or maybe at a different angle. All right. Okay, so if you'd like to take a look, I'm going to be streaming, and then yeah, I'm gonna stop watching yours. All right, so let's talk about a few different things. I think we're just going to go over a ton of positioning things here to start off.
How do I look at your show?
Yeah, so if is it displaying your own stream at the moment on Discord?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Yep.
I can see yours on the right side though.
Yeah, I just click on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you see it? All right. So let's discuss a couple things here. So positioning, right? Just first, let's discuss general positioning. General positioning, right? If I'm standing right here and the enemy team is standing over there, it takes me 1, 2, 3 seconds to get behind cover. Now, from cover, you cannot shoot through solid objects, so we're safe, right? But in that time it took me to walk here, I died because they shot me, right? Whereas if I'm
Hmm.
standing right here, well, now it takes me half a second to duck behind cover. I can still do the same stuff, except for now I am going to be getting cover literally 6 times faster than what it took me previously, right?
Hmm.
So therefore, good positioning is the usage of cover, whereas bad positioning is the absence of cover, right? So we want to make sure we're keeping cover, and there are a lot of instances where we weren't really keeping cover and we were kind of out in the open. So we want to make sure we're looking to use cover. There's cover all over the place, right? With slopes and with pillars, right? And with corners, right? In between shots, right? Like we can do something like this, right? We can use it when we're reloading on characters that need to reload. When we're low, we're getting shot at. We have random objects like the payload we can use, right? Pillar, corner, doorway, corner. It's all over the place, right? Um,
Hmm.
High grounds also all act as natural cover, right? They can see us, now they can't. He can see us, now he can, right? High grounds all act as natural cover, which makes high grounds great positioning. On top of that, most scarcers in the game can't get up to high ground very easily. 2/3 need to take the stairs, and then the other third, most of them need to use abilities, right? So high
Yeah.
ground therefore adds an additional layer of survivability and keeps people away from you, right? Thirdly, right, high ground also gives you very good visibility. We can see stuff over here and over here and over here and over here and over there, right? And
Mhm.
all of the ground level, but when we're, or sorry, all of the high ground level, but when we're on a low ground, we can't see anything over there or any of the high ground or anything over there, right? So high ground gives us a ton of visibility, and then there's other benefits that come along with it, like you can contest other people, right? So if high ground's good for you, it's also good for the enemy team, and on top of this, high ground gives you off angles, which we might talk about here in a minute, but in any case, take high grounds. High grounds are great positioning, and we can get there instantly as Hanzo. Yeah, we didn't really seem to take high grounds very often, right? It's like on defense, we barely touch the high grounds on, or besides, sorry, on defense second point to be more accurate, right? We weren't really on the high grounds at all.
Wait,
On
should I be in a queue right now?
um, let's think. Why don't you give it like 2 3 minutes and then hop into a queue? Because I don't want to like
Yeah.
have you insta pop one and then not be able to talk about anything.
Mhm.
So then let's move on, right? So that was high grounds, but there's also a bad way to use high grounds as well, right? There's high grounds is generally good, but you can misuse them. So let's say we're standing right here, right? And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people can see us. Can we shoot at 5 people all at the same time?
No.
Can 5 people all at the same time shoot at us?
Yes.
Right? So,
Yeah, definitely.
why would we stand here when this is out in the open? This is an absence of cover when we could do this and add in a crouch, and now it's one person who can see us, right? We kill one person, we move on, kill this person, right? Kill that person, right? And then, we can peek when we want to see a bunch of people real quick, back up, right? That sort of idea, same thing. We can use this left wall as cover, right? Until one person can see us, right? And then we move over, now a second person, right? So just looking to use high grounds like that. Let's talk about off angling real quick. So, off angling, right, is just taking a different angle from the main angle. So if the enemy team is standing there and our team is standing here, this is the main angle. If we're shooting down this, we have to shoot into shields and tanks and tanking abilities, and it's gonna be very difficult for us to get value when we're doing this, because
Hmm.
we just end up shooting into all the things we don't really want to be shooting at. Whereas if we just decided to real quick come through here, well, now just very fastly and very safely, we got around to everything that we don't want to be shooting at, straight to their backline who we do want to be shooting at, right? Same thing right here, right? Main enemy team, our team, main angle, right? Just like, 2 seconds. Now we're on off angle. We gotta get around the shields, around the tanks, straight to their back line who we want to be shooting at, right? So off angles are fast and safe ways to do that. A flank is different than an off angle. A flank would be if we started here and went all the way around and all the way around, right? So flanks are long and or dangerous. And
Yeah.
Hanzo, you never really want to be flanking with. Other characters you can. Hanzo, no. Then moving on, I think you can look to go ahead and hop into a queue about now. So moving on, let's talk about oh, I got a no reg on her. Let's talk about flicking. So with our aim, we seem to have a very flicky aim style. When it comes to flicking, there are times where flicking is necessary and times where flicking is not necessary, right? So times where flicking is necessary, right? And flicking is anytime your crosshair is moving somewhere very, very fast, right? That's flicking.
Yeah.
You have to flick when there's a fast moving target, so like Tracer's blinking around us, so we need to flick around really quick to hit her, right? When somebody's sneaking up behind us, right, we need to be able to flick around to acquire that target, right, really, really fast, right? We can flick if somebody just appears on our screen, so we're aiming down here, and then all of a sudden the bot appears up at the top. We have to flick up to the bot real quick, right? We kill this guy, we have to flick over to that guy, right? So that's
Mhm.
times where flicking is necessary. When flicking is not necessary is when we're already aiming straight at somebody, right? When we're already
Yeah.
aiming straight at somebody, flicking does nothing more but just make our shots less consistent and can even be detrimental and mess with our aim, right? Like if we're already aiming here, why would I do, if I'm aiming here and I hit a body shot, why would I like look away and then come back? Right, which is something we saw us do, or like dragging our crosshair like from here all the way across, like we would drag our crosshair and like go like this, or we would do something like that, right? We
Yeah.
would aim like that, right? Like why are we doing that when we could just keep our crosshair on the person, right? And then therefore not have to do unnecessary large, cross large amounts of space with our crosshair, right?
What happens if someone is like like I'm 1v1ing someone, or I'm trying to focus on someone and like they're like desperately like trying to like juke my shots, like they're spam crouching, like going
Mhm.
like AD spamming. Like would I just like switch to another target or
So if you're trying to shoot at somebody and they're 80, they're strafing you, there's that, like, just because someone's strafing, is that gonna make you incapable of shooting them?
not really, no.
And it just makes them a harder target to kill. So I mean, it depends upon the situation. If you see that there's somebody easier to kill and better to kill, I mean, go for a better and easier target to kill any day, right? But if they're, why would we, like, for example, right? Like, let's say I'm up here and I'm fighting this guy, and then they start spam crouching or whatever. Why would I just leave that duel to go fight one of these guys when I'm like right next to this person, right?
Um,
Ranges. Oh, this is one that is important, so let's talk about that. I forgot to mention it. Ranges on Hanzo. Hanzo does not like close ranges because there's other characters who do better close range. Think Reaper, Mei, Ryan,
yeah.
Junkrat, right? That sort of deal. They do better close range, so you don't like close range. So typically in Hanzo, you start off at around like 15 meters is your preference range, right? Somewhere around here would be like where your starting point. But he also don't like long ranges, right? Even though he can one shot, targets that are far away are inherently much more difficult to hit, right? For two reasons. First off, they're smaller, right? This target's a lot harder to hit than this target, and then also
Mhm.
because you have projectiles are like that, right? Inherently, projectiles are harder to hit at distances because you have to predict where people are moving, and that's hard to do. Much harder than just keeping our crosshair on somebody, right? So typically, you don't want to be Widowmaker distances, which we ended up doing a lot. We ended up sitting back here and shooting at people like very frequently, right? So typically you want to cap out your range, if preferable, at around like 35 meters would be like a cap, right? And then you can play further if the situation requires you to, right? But that's not where you prefer to play, right? And you can get closer if the situation requires you to, but it's not preferable.
What about like map dependent? Like let's say I was Hanzo on Havana. Like let's say I'm on attack, I'm going out like they're far range. Would I try to take like left angle through that and try to off angle?
Yeah, I mean, it depends like upon like the situation, right? Like you definitely could. Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. Never mind. It doesn't. Yeah. Pretty much every time I come out on Havana on Alfonso, I take left room. It gets you an off angle. It lets you get closer, so you're not standing a mile away, right? Lets you shoot at them from the side, right? So yeah, I'd say almost certainly yes. Every time you should just come out left room on Hanzo. So
I think I'm in a game.
yeah. So you in a game here, yeah?
Yep.
All right. Let me take a look, and then I'm gonna stop streaming too.
Do you want me to continue playing Hanzo or should I switch it
Whatever
up?
character you want to.
Um, Let me try my Genji, I guess. Sure. Oh wait, it's defense. Oh, I don't know. That'd probably be the best.
Yep. One thing I'd just say is just like in general, Sonic more, wall climb more. You don't really wall climb at all, especially to get to high grounds, right? Is a big thing for it. Storm Arrow, we didn't really talk about Storm Arrow very much, but make sure you know that I think maybe sometimes we didn't use it very often as well. You want to just be using it to pump out damage, use it in the big crowds of people, use it in the shields, use it in the tanks, use it when you're finishing off a target like that. That was a perfect time to use it, right? Use it when you've already shot your first shot, right? Because you don't want to. Sometimes you don't want to have to fully charge up a whole second shot. Okay, very nice. Next time you get the chance, can you press tab for me? And make sure paying attention to our Zarya ultimate, right? She was 90%, and Grab Dragon is probably one of the most powerful ult combos in the game, so don't pass that up if you see that you have a grab. One thing I would say is press tab more often. You should be pressing that pretty
All
much
right.
after like every single fight of the game, because you want to see what ults does our team have? Did we swap any characters? Did they swap any characters? Right? It gives you a lot of information, so press it pretty frequently. Yep. Here on
All
this
right.
point, you know, we'd be sitting basically where we are like right now. That front high ground we can push to if we have a big advantage. But besides, like right now, if we see our teams pushing forwards, we can push forwards. But we don't want to stay there just because it's so close to them. We do want to keep our medium range. Oh, kind of left into that one.
Yeah, a little
But
bit.
yeah, very nice. So far I'm already seeing us use our abilities more, and we've like as a result, I think we've like gotten most of our kills from Storm Arrows. So just using abilities more often, you can already just see the value that is attained from using them. Because when they're not used, they don't do anything.
Yeah, definitely.
That things. Maybe leap back like slightly faster. But besides that, not much we could have done there. Possibly dragoning as well slightly earlier could have been a possibility to help out, keep them at bay while they're pushing in, like a Urian, for example.
Yeah, I didn't know if Zara had grab.
Yeah, so it's just pressing tab frequently so you don't, you know, you can even, like, in the middle of a fight, you can just flash it real quick just by pressing it for half a second, right? And then that gives you the information you're looking for. Ooh, very nice. Make sure you're not sitting at 80 HP. Go look for healing, right? So you don't end up just getting one tapped by someone.
Yeah, I was kind of dead there.
Yep, so now we're paying attention. We see we have grabs, so we're pretty much just gonna wait on the grab, right? Because they have like absolutely nothing to stop you from getting a grab dragon off if you do get it.
Yeah. Should I be focusing the Doom or more of like the Widow?
Widowmaker's going to be a much easier target for you to secure, but I mean, you also don't have to spend the entire game chasing her down, right? Hanzo's a pretty good counter against Widow, right? Because you can just do that and then get her out of the fight and then you're good, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, like we've been consistently shutting her down. I don't think she's been too much of a problem. But like for Doom, for example, he's someone that you just first off want to keep tabs on and keep your eye on, but then also maybe like saving Storm Arrow for him because you can melt him pretty fast with that.
Yeah.
Maybe like putting a if you know that people are coming down main, but maybe putting a Sonic on like Doomfist might find a lot of value.
Oh wait, I fell.
Uh-oh. One thing you can try
Oh.
is when you get close to an edge, try crouching, as that lowers your movement speed and would stop you from just sprinting off the edge, right? And then that would allow you to have a little bit more control while you're peeking.
All right. Well, that was unfortunate. What is going on?
And that's a good round, I think. Now let me jinx you real quick.
Oh, that's not good.
Cool. Okay, overall, pretty well, pretty good.
Oh, I'm, you know, I thought I would climb back up, but that door literally stopped me.
Yep,
Well,
one other thing I might say for like you going up against the Widowmaker is wait for her to stand still, right? When she scopes up and scopes in, she's basically a standing still target. So, why are we going to, come in shooting at her when she's hard to hit and then therefore making her even harder to hit because now she's trying to dodge you, versus if we just wait for her to stand still and then we can just get a headshot super easily, right? Or wait for her to grapple up to high ground and just catch her off guard, right? That sort of idea. Like kind of like I guess the same cons. I guess that's main thing I'm trying to get at.
all right. Um,
Reinhard, I must say you're looking quite well. The slide must agree with you.
And you are looking as lovely as ever.
5, 4, 3, 1. Attack commences. Capture objective A.
did my whole team just die? Oh,
But right now, paying attention to our surroundings, staying high ground would be a good idea. Yeah. And now the team's pushing in. Yeah, want to get a little bit closer. right? Like high ground's only good until like we're a mile away from the fight.
Um,
Yeah, very nice.
Objective A captured. Escort the payload.
Yeah. Like right now, their whole team's dead. So rather than like peeking through this, which probably won't get as much value. Yeah, just being up a little bit closer probably would be better.
check out top. That'd have been cool if that hit.
Yeah. Just keep main thing with your Sonic arrow, right? Is you a lot of times, if possible, you don't want to just we have to the fight here.
Alright.
Yeah, a lot of times with Sonic, you don't want to just like plop it in the middle of the fight. You can if there's nothing else to worry about, but that typically that's not what you want to do with it. What you want to do with it is you want to yeah, what you want to do with it is you want to catch the people who are off on the flanks, right? So, for example, you can catch the Widowmaker with it, and then that way you can very easily 1v1 her if you know where Widow's at, or if the Doomfist was
Well, this is tragic.
so, or if the Doomfist right is flanking you guys and giving you trouble, Sonicking him can help you keep tabs on him and maybe like one tap him around the corner, right? So, just looking for things like that instead of just plopping it in the middle of the fight. That's unfortunate. Whenever you climb walls, make sure that you're not curving your crosshair as well, right? It cancels your climb if you are not looking straight parallel to the wall, right? So when you're climbing a
Yeah.
wall, you want to make sure you're just keeping parallel. I'm not sure if that was the reason that time, but I have seen it in the past where we don't look parallel and then we end up just falling.
Yeah, my sense is kind of slow, so it's sometimes a little bit hard to do that, but
Yep, do you have a large mouse pad to work with?
um yes, but I don't have as much desk space as I did before.
Okay. So if you don't have a ton of desk space, then you might need to like hire it. So basically like what I'd say is that if you're nowhere close to being able to do a 360 from if you like so I guess we'll talk about that afterwards. Let you fight here. Punch.
Oh, that's not good.
So like again in there in that situation, instead of just tossing in Sonic, maybe the Tracer who's like running above you could have been, handy to Sonic. Let your team and you know where she is.
All right. Oh,
Oh. Oh, very nice. A lot of headshots there. I think we held on the dragon for a little bit there, didn't we? Like, I think we had that since first point, if I'm not mistaken.
yeah.
So make sure we're looking to use our dragon. Don't hold on to it, right? Ults that, the same way with abilities, ults that aren't used don't get value. So as long as you're not holding it for a combo like a grab or a Sigma ult, right? Then you want to be using it pretty much every fight that you get it, right? Just like make sure we're looking to use it. Um, Besides, like, as we also did that maybe like a couple of the fights too during the last two games. Besides that, like I was saying, yeah, don't hop into another queue because I don't think we're gonna have enough time for another one here. So in any case, right, like talking about the other sensitivity thing real quick, right? Do you mind like hopping in a training range? So with your sens from the left as far left as you can on your mouse pad to as far right as you can on your mouse pad. That should preferably be getting you very, very close, if not or if being able to get you to do a 360, right? Um, So I guess that might have been complicated. So just look straight like at a bot's head or something like that, right? And then take your mouse, put it on all the way left of your screen of your mouse pad, drag it
Yeah.
all the way to the right, as far right as you can, and where do you end up? Okay, that's not really enough turning space, right? Why you want more is because you should be able to do a 180, right, from either your left or right side, right? So if I am starting out my crosshair in the middle, I need to be able to do a 180 to turn around to me, right? So let me just share my screen, right?
Uh,
So if you always default your mouse to the middle of your mouse pad, right? That's where your mouse goes. At least that should be where it's going, right? And if you can only do a 180 in total, that means you can only do 90 degrees with half, right? So that means that if I were to only do 90 degrees, that would look like if I'm trying to turn around, I would need to do right and then lift up and right again, right? If I'm trying to do 180 degrees, which means that I have a delay before I can see people. So usually that's not great if you need to do 2 swipes to be able to turn or do a turnaround, right? So
mhm.
I'd probably recommend upping that a little bit. As well, if you feel like you're struggling to climb up a wall, that's also a problem, right? So
Yeah.
I don't think that that's necessary. That your sensitivity is necessarily like way too low, but you need to have a mouse pad that's able to, like that's large enough, and desk space that's large enough to compensate for a low mouse. If you don't have the desk space or a larger mouse pad, then you're not gonna be able to have a low sense because you don't have enough space to move it around with, right?
I think I do. Like, yeah, I just need to move my monitor over. I moved into my college dorm a little bit ago, so the desk isn't huge, but I can move my monitor over a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So I
Just
have
get.
like mine is like an XL, I believe, so I can just I just need to move my monitor over a little bit.
Yeah, just give yourself room to work with. That type of idea. So here, now we're going to hop into, because I don't think there's anything more to talk about like techie wise. But yeah, so now we're gonna hop into the review, go over the main points of this session, and then wrap it up from there. So let's see, we were on Hanzo the whole time. Or actually, did we swap up? I think we were on Hanzo the whole time, right?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
was going to, but the map was pretty good for Hanzo
Yeah.
anyway, so I
Yeah,
just
so
didn't.
in any case, right, let's start out with abilities. Abilities, Sonic more often. Don't just Sonic into the main fight if there's other people off-angling. We want to be able to Sonic the off-anglers, right? So why would we
Mhm.
Sonic these guys if we have visibility on these guys instead of Sonicking this guy so we can see that guy who's around the corner, right? So Sonic the people who you need Sonic for, right? And then use it more often. Storm Arrow, right? Make sure you're
Mhm.
just pumping it out more often, getting it out there has a lot of uses, right? When you're just trying to mow groups down, tanks down, shields down. Whenever we hit a body shot, we can follow it up really fast because we don't have to wait for our shot to charge back up. With it, make sure we're not wasting our arrows. So if we,
Mhm.
can't see a target anymore, just hold on to it. Don't just shoot them all into a wall, right? Sometimes we would like do this, where like that person would run around the corner and then we just fire every single shot out, right? Something like that, right?
Mhm.
So instead, just save it. Wait, you have some time on it. Wait for them to come back around the corner or something. And then leap. Make sure that we are, just using it. I don't think there's very much wrong with that. And then wall climb, I guess I'll group that into this category. Just make sure again that we're using it and getting up to high ground. So overall, it wasn't like a very major thing. I'd probably say, trying to think. Low to medium to a medium priority for you to work on around that range.
Mhm.
Um, Moving on, dragon usage, right? Very good, though. Really, the only thing is just, I guess, yeah, it would just be make sure we're using it. Don't hold on to it. Make sure
Mhm.
we're comboing with it, right? If you have a grab, look to actually use it with that, and then also make sure we're using it from around corners and cover so that they can't see us, right? And then overall, that one probably goes to around the same as ability usage, right? Just kind of that low to medium area. Um, Moving on, mechanics. Make sure with mechanics that we're not randomly flicking. Um, Besides that, I don't know if there's actually very much else we talked about with mechanics. Overall, probably like a low with mechanics. We'll do that. Um, Moving on. positioning, right? Making sure that we are taking cover. Good positioning is the usage of cover. Bad positioning is the absence of cover. Making sure that we are taking high grounds, right? High grounds are great positioning. Look to take them. Making sure we're taking off angles, as like a lot of times you just kind of sat on the main. Well, we had options to go to the sides, right? So think, for example, Anubis like second point, right, where we kept shoving our head down main when we could have just taken right side of the map, right, and then come in from an off angle, right, different angle from the main. Make sure we're looking to keep within our appropriate range. Don't play a mile away when we're on a Hanzo, if preferable, right. Look to stay roughly within 15 to 35 meters, somewhere around that range, right, so that we can actually land effective shots and do things. And then overall, that is pretty much it for positioning. So that's like probably a medium high priority for you to work on. And then we also have awareness, right? Make sure that you are paying attention to your health bar. Request healing when you are low.
Yeah.
Besides that, let's see what else is there. Just paying attention generally to things around you. I think we definitely had decent audio awareness of our surroundings. Pay attention to tab, right? And like what ults you have, and press that frequently in between every single fight.
Yeah,
Besides that,
for Akinwall, like I didn't realize we had a Zarya. I forgot. So
yep, so
yeah.
just pay attention to team compositions, because team comp dictates your play style. You play differently with every team comp on your team and the enemy team. And then I think honestly that's about it for the awareness. So awareness, I probably put it like, that one probably goes to like a low to medium, right? So let's put that in order real quick. Maybe, I'll bump up the ability usage and ultimate usage to a medium. So let's just make that easy, right? So to put that in order, right, it would be number 1 is going to be your positioning. Number 2 is probably going to be your ultimate usage. 3 is your ability usage. 4 is your mechanics, and then I'm sorry, 4 is your awareness, and then 5 is your mechanics. Right? Do you have any questions about anything we've talked about, or just anything else in general?
Can you just repeat over the list? So you said number one
Yep.
was positioning, number two was
Number 1 was positioning. 2 was your ultimate usage. 3 was ability usage. 4 was your awareness, and then 5 was your mechanics. So anything else that you got for questions?
um. Let's say like I was trying to go to like owl or like higher, like higher like that. Like what advice would you give for me for that?
Play more often. If you're playing every other night, you probably wouldn't ever be able to make it there, question mark. I mean that one's like a little bit debatable. Like it's hard to say, but like people just keep in mind that it's putting you at a handicap or a disadvantage if you
Mhm.
play 4 to 5 hours every other night, because there's people playing 6 to 8 hours every day, right?
Mhm.
So playing more often is like always going to be your more practice equals more improvement, unless you're getting burnt out over it, right? But I mean
Mhm.
that again, that depends upon your commitment level, how much you want to do this. So that one's like, I'm not gonna make you play more often. That one's up to you. But that's just a recommendation. If you're trying to improve, it'd be a good idea to play more often. Besides that, if you're looking for other additional advice on that, probably say that think about getting to Overwatch League, like if that's really your goal, as more not all if you get good. Sorry, let's say make your
Mhm.
first goal to get good, get up to 44, 45 range, right? But then
Yeah.
after that point, the majority of it comes down to connections and networking, not actually gameplay. Right? There are people who regularly hit number 1 spots and want to be on Overwatch League teams that aren't, right? So that's just because there's a large part of it is networking and knowing the right people. Because if you don't know the right people, then you don't get into onto teams, and you don't get trials, and you don't
Mhm.
end up actually joining anything. So that would be another recommendation. So anything else?
Um. Last question. So I tend to like try different senses. Like I would say, like twice or three times a week. Like, how important would you say staying to like the same sense is?
Staying to the same sense is very important because otherwise you are just essentially you're resetting your aim progress 2 to 3 times a week if you're resetting your sense. Not it's not completely gonna upset your aim fundamentals, but it will very probably mess with your aim very much if you're changing your sense. And if you're doing that very frequently, then that's probably not a great thing. So what I would do is instead of changing it 2 to 3 times a week, is spend like an hour and go and test out a bunch of different sensitivities. And what you can do, like how you can do that very easily, is start off with a sensitivity and and go around training range and just mess around with it for a little bit and think, do I want lower or higher with this? If you want higher, bump it up, or lower, whatever, right? Bump it up a little bit. Then test it out. And then go again. Do you want it higher or lower? Do it again. Do you like higher or lower, right? Until you finally found kind of like a spot where you don't want to go higher or lower anymore, right? And then test that out for a couple of days. If you feel like it works well enough for you, don't expect it to be perfect right away because you obviously need time to get used to it. But if you're on day 3 and it still feels like crap, it's not a good sensitivity. But if you're on day 3 and it's feeling completely fine, then just stick with that sensitivity. You don't want to keep swapping around. I probably had the same. I probably had the same sensitivity for like over a year now, something like that.
All right, cool.
So anything else?
Um, does crosshair matter?
I'd say with yours, I'd maybe go for like a slightly bigger dot. Just because yours seems kind of tiny, which can end up maybe getting lost on some people. But besides that, it depends on what characters you're playing. I'd say particularly hit scan characters, you're going to want crosshairs as your crosshair, and then a lot of projectile characters you can have dots or whatever. And then those are usually the two that I keep are crosshairs and dots on my characters for the most part. Hanzo you could go either way. Dot or crosshairs works. And then, like I said, Genji I would keep dot. Echo, Pharah I would keep dot. But then if I'm going over to hit scan, I'd probably keep crosshairs on most of them.
If I was to make another session, like could we go over like another hero?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I mean, we can go over however many heroes you want to go over, right? It just depends on like how spread thin. Just keep in mind that like we go over 3 heroes, we're not going to be going over very much of 3 heroes. So we can go over however many you want. Just keep that in mind as we're going through. So you might find it preferable to only do like 2 or so, like if you're trying to get a decent amount on each. But that's up to you. So that about it, or do you have anything else?
That's it.
All right.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Thanks for the session.
yeah, let me.